Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us all this afternoon. We are incredibly excited to begin launching our brand new platform, The Fifth Producer, where all emerging and early career producers can come together to build a community and grow together as we launch and continue our journey within the industry.
We are so grateful to have you here with us today, and we're eager to connect with as many emerging producers as possible. Whether you're a commercial or subsidised producer, a self-producing artist, or you're just the person that gets things done, you are welcome here. Throughout this afternoon, you will learn more about The Fifth Producer and what we are aiming to achieve as a collective. I'm Lucy, I've got brown hair tied back in a bun, and I'm wearing a yellow jumper. I am an emerging producer. I work within the interdisciplinary, new writing and R&D phases of production, and I am based in the UK.
I'll introduce myself very quickly. My name is Liam McIntosh. I am wearing a dark navy shirt with short blonde hair, and I'm a white male. I am an emerging commercial theatre producer working predominantly in musical theatre as well as pantomime, and my work, although I am based just outside Edinburgh, is now tending to take me further down south, looking across London and the rest of the UK and international touring. I, alongside Lucy, will be guiding you through the next 30 minutes or so, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around. We have got a lot of exciting stuff coming your way. The first look at our brand new website platform, and we will also be joined by the brilliant Kerry Michael MBE, who will be joining us a little later on to give a very special interview with Niels.
Now, we are live today and at the powers of the internet, so fingers crossed our technology is working. If you've got any problems, let us know in the YouTube comments. You can also pop your questions in here for a live Q&A at the end. If you'd like to do this as you go through the afternoon, then that will be great, and we will get to as many as we possibly can.
Now, The Fifth Producer. It is a result of 9 emerging producers coming together and having a very similar mindset of what needs to be discussed within our industry. We collectively met through Chris Grady's Institute, led by the brilliant Chris Grady himself, and as of yet, none of us have actually met in person.
So let's meet the rest of the Fifth Producer team.
Hi, I'm Siva, and I'm based in London, and the work I am interested in is opera, farces, real life stories on stage, and arts in the community.
Hello, my name is Lizzie. I live in Bedford. I work regionally and also in London, and I make theatre work that is predominantly based around music, movement and great stories.
Hello, my name is Joanna Morley. I am based in the northwest of England and in London. The areas that I work in are new writing, devising and work that is made with and for young people.
Hello, my name is Niels van Doormalen and I'm originally from the Netherlands, but I aim to work both in the UK and the Netherlands post-pandemic. The area of theatre that I mostly work in is small-scale musical theatre, and I focus on new writing, relevance and new technology.
Hi, my name is Megan Shadler. My work is based in New York and the UK. I work in commercial and subsidized, and I'm interested in new writing, multidisciplinary, devised, R&D, international, and digital work that involves live streaming and video.
Hi, my name is Erin Rooney. I am a multidisciplinary performer, director and producer. I work predominantly in new writing, devising and immersive theatre and can't wait to continue that. I live in Scotland at the moment, but can't wait to do work in the UK and internationally when I'm able to.
Hello, my name is Phoebe Schenk and I'm a theatre producer based in London. I primarily work internationally, especially with schools in South and East Asia, and I am very passionate about platforming intersectional work, particularly exploring intersections of race, gender and sexuality.
Now then, that was a very whistle-stop tour of the 9 of us. If you do want to find out any more about us though, then please visit our website or our social media channels. However, this isn't about the 9 of us as a whole. It is about creating that brighter future together.
Now, the website will be acting as our main platform. So Megan, along with Phoebe, are going to tell you a bit more about how this is all going to work.
Thank you, Lucy and Liam. Hi, I am Megan. I am a white woman with brown hair wearing a black dress. Now, as you have just heard, I am here with Erin to take you through our website. This is a very exclusive first look as it is just being launched right now. The website has multiple sections and has been created to be as accessible as possible. Right now, we're going to take you through a few key sections.
Hiya, I'm Erin, as Megan has introduced me. I have long brown hair and a yellow top on. So when you visit the website, you will see 3 key areas: connect, inform, and activate. As Liam mentioned earlier, none of us have actually met in real life. We met online via the CGO course in creative producing. We often find ourselves chatting and asking for each other's advice on WhatsApp and things like that. So we realised when sharing jobs and opportunities with each other, this is exactly what's been missing for producers all along. We realised we were really privileged to have each other, and the producing community was really missing a friendly collective where we could all learn and grow together. When we discussed this, we realised it was always about 3 very simple words: connect, inform.
Restart the image desktop camera.
One second, we're just going to share with you our website. Just having some technical difficulties.
Joys of technology. We'll get there as soon as possible.
Okay, so we'll just start taking you through and we'll see if the technology comes through. So to connect through connections, there are lots of websites out there to connect with new producers in the industry. There are tons of really great Facebook groups. One way that we want to start connecting with new producers is through events like virtual coffee mornings. So we'll be having these virtual coffee mornings to talk about a range of topics, from touring in Asia to how the heck do I even start. We will also hopefully down the line be offering workshops and seminars, even training opportunities for those who cannot afford it on their own.
And our second drop-down menu is inform. This page is really a 2-way street where we'll keep adapting, updating, and evolving the content as we continue to grow as a collective. While we are building a platform for others to be informed, we too are constantly ensuring we will be able to use this space to educate ourselves. We hope to start up a blog where we can share our own learning journeys, whether that be beginning sound language or undertaking EDI training or specific anti-racism training as well. We hope in time we will also be able to source and book group training sessions based on community interest. On our website at the moment, we're also gathering some excellent resources that we found helpful ourselves from emerging theatre companies and independent producers who are transparent about their practice and offer simple steps towards making a change, whether it be environmental sustainability or accessible rehearsal rooms.
Great. And activate. The activate section of our website is all about the actions the 9 of us will be taking going forward. So we will be updating these frequently. This is a document that outlines our values, what we think is important, and key principles that underpin this platform. They are to facilitate, to center access, to always be transparent, and to remain authentic in ourselves, and to create a sustainable practice and platform working environment for ourselves. This is just the beginning of this project. As we begin to connect with other emerging and early career producers, we hope that our outlook will keep evolving and others will begin to contribute and share to this as well.
So the big question is, how can you get involved? Well, all you need to get involved is head over to our website, check out what we've got going on. At the moment, we're still in early phases of the project. Please keep checking our socials, and websites for upcoming announcements of future projects. Back to Lucy.
Now, as you may have seen over the past week, we've been asking emerging producers and early career producers to take part in a survey so we can create the best platform possible. Phoebe is about to tell us a bit more about this, but please remember to keep popping your questions in the chat box so we can answer them in the Q&A at the end. Phoebe.
Hiya, I'm Phoebe. I've got dark brown hair and I'm wearing a green top. So thanks to everyone who filled out our initial version of the survey. We reached over 70 people in a week and look forward to follow-up conversations with those that offered. We recognise this number as far from representative of the whole producing community, and we plan to reopen the survey, taking the time to market it to networks we did not originally reach. This is essential for our community to evolve by continuing to look to and listen to our community needs. So for now, what did we learn from the survey and how can it inform the future of the fifth producer? Most producers said they did not feel supported by the industry. On average, they rated it a 4 out of 10. The biggest challenges mentioned were a lack of entry-level jobs and financial support. Concerns that also came forward from you guys were challenges of networking and feeling like getting in is all about who you know. A lack of connections with venues and age caps on opportunities were also featured. In response, we will advocate as a community about the need for more entry-level roles. We are developing a support fund for training outside of educational institutions. We will reach out to venues to gather and share pathways and opportunities in our newsletter. And we hear your concern about generational stereotyping of how young an emerging producer should be, and we will challenge this. Most producers do not feel connected to others, but overwhelmingly, they want to be. It is reaffirming, if a little depressing, to know that imposter syndrome is a key barrier to this. We've all felt inadequate, and this united the 9 of us to want to create a non-intimidating, supportive platform in the first place. A desire for mentorship also came up quite a lot in the survey. We plan to offer peer mentorship and skill shares where we can be transparent about our practice, how we got here, and what we're still learning. We also recognise COVID-related disruption has disconnected many of us, and that came up a lot in the survey. This is why an online open access space is needed now more than ever.
Thank you very much, Phoebe, and thanks again to everyone who filled that survey out. Now, I am thrilled for this next part. I am thrilled to pass you over to Niels, and he's about to introduce today's very special guest. Over to you, Niels.
Thank you so much, Liam, for introducing me. I am Niels. I am a white male wearing a checked shirt, black glasses, and a black headphone. We are very excited to be joined today by Kerry Kyriacos Michael MBE. So if you would turn off your microphone and your camera, I'm very excited to introduce you. Kerry is the director of Kyriacos & Company, a production house developing new voices through film, TV, and theatre. Kerry is a chair of the board at Mena Arts UK, a platform that supports different voices and creativity of artists from the Middle East and North African region. Kerry works within the broad range of stage directing, artistic director, years from September 2004 until September 2017. He led the Theatre Royal Stratford East. His inaugural season was nominated for an Olivier Award for a powerful season of provocative work that reaches new audiences. So Kerry showed us some of his work in the session that we got with him via the CGO Institute, and this work, the project Home Theatre in particular, really resonated with all of us in terms of what the fifth type of producer could produce. So Home Theatre was an innovative site-responsive project which brought 30 theatre makers into 30 homes across London with an intimate series of personal plays performed and filmed in living rooms. Audiences experienced something completely unique and intimate. And as we saw this as a collective, we all got really touched by it, but by relevance to the story as well as the connection that theatre can make to communities. So we talked about this session with Kerry about different generations of producers, different meanings to the term. And it is up to us how we want to shape the role of the producer in the industry of the future. And Kerry highlighted 4 types of producers. And you can focus on the creative process, you can focus on being around artistic folk, on coordinating things, or making a good return on investment. And while going through these different focuses, we all felt that we wanted to add a 5th type of producer, and that's really where our name, the 5th producer, comes from, because the 5th producer is feeling the intrinsic need to change the world via our theatre work. So, Kerry, we are going to do this like in a sort of Q&A function. So I've got some questions prepared for you. Could you tell us something about how the director-producer relationship could be like ideally in the future?
Yeah, of course. Hello, nice to see you all. This is a great setup, isn't it? You know, daytime TV's got nothing on you guys. This is brilliant. I'm Kerry. I'm a 49-year-old man wearing a black shirt and black hair. Lockdown hair. These are haircuts. The question was, Niels, tell me again. I just sidetracked myself.
Could you tell us something about the relationship between the director and the producer and how that would work from your point of view?
Yeah, great. So I think no one tells us or makes us to produce work. We do it by ourselves. So if we want to produce work, we've got to have the impetus, the energy, the passion to do that. And sometimes that comes from a director. Sometimes that might come from a producer. And then it's that marriage thing, isn't it? And as you mentioned, with those 5 different types of producer, you've got to make sure that all those bases are covered within that relationship and partnership. And, you know, some directors and producers are collaborators once they start for the rest of their lives. And I think when you find that kind of partnership, you kind of hit gold. And, you know, if you're going to spend the rest of your life making shows, possibly for not much money, or possibly risking losing your entire house and whatever kind of producer you are, you've got to do it with someone who you respect, who you have the same values for, and who you want to spend a lot of time with. So that partnership is key, I think.
Okay, yeah, thank you. How can we make sure that we tell stories that are an actual reflection of society and that we pay extra attention to underrepresented voices as producers of the future?
That's a really big and difficult question. I wish you gave me that one before. How to unpick that? The challenge is about the context of what you're talking about is, I think, is about our privilege. All of us have privilege, and all of us need to understand what our privilege is and whether we're capable of not giving other people opportunity, but actually stepping away so other people can take the space. And I think that's where the conversation is. It's not about me deciding to put on a show by that group of diversity over there, which I find exciting. That's a little bit, that can fall into being slightly erotic or exotic, me trying to do that show. But it's about how I step aside to enable those people to put on the show that they want to put on themselves under their own terms. So that's where the kind of conversation's at, I think. And also the other bit around that is just being aware of what our value systems are, what we think is excellent, what I think is a great piece of work. You know, that problem we all have is we only see excellence within ourselves. So if I see someone who looks like me, who talks like me, who likes the same things that I do, I instinctively think they are good, they're correct, because it self-validates my opinion. And trying to find the diversity in the room where you're brave enough to have different kinds of people who don't agree with you, but are confident that collectively you'll get somewhere different, because that diversity is where the quality comes from, that robust conversation.
Yeah, but from my personal point of view, I would, as a producer, I would like to do something extra, if that makes sense. Like I would share
if you're an old-fashioned producer or an angel, you're doing that all the time, aren't you? You're giving away lots of money, and you've got hands length approach to enable that bunch of creative people to do their thing. So there's many ways in which you do that. We all have to constantly check in on the power we have, though, and to make sure we're giving it away in an appropriate way.
Okay.
And the way you do that ultimately is by literally giving up your privilege and your power and stepping aside so other people can come in front of you.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. On to the last question.
Can I have a nicer question now? That was quite a difficult one.
Definitely. What is the biggest? It's an easier one. What is the biggest barrier for emerging producers going forward in the industry?
Right, a nice question. Thank you. Yes. Well, I mean, to be serious for a minute, I know we all know this, but we should never stop talking about it. The sector, the arts, has gone through one of the biggest traumas with the pandemic. We really have lost a generation of freelancers. There's been a whole wave of people who have now disappeared from the sector. And this thing about bouncing back to what? I fear that we're not going to, all that good intention we had in lockdown about changing the formula about how the arts work. I can't see us doing that. I can see us being so relieved to getting back into theatres, to getting shows back on. We're gonna fall back to default positions. And then the other thing, which we must never forget about during this period, we had the whole country and the world had another trauma, which was the death of George Floyd. Now many people have been murdered at the hands of police or experienced racism, but that one in particular captured a moment in which we felt we were going to change, and the Black Lives Matter movement can't be forgotten and has to be prevalent in everything that we do, because through that equality we all get equality. So it's not going to be easy, it's going to be tough, but there's also the other thing that we had was that humanity thing, wasn't there? Without being too twee about it, we came together as a nation and we did things we never thought we could do to support each other. So that gives me loads of confidence about actually our humanity and our collectiveness can make positive change. So it's not all gloom and doom.
Exactly. Well, if COVID wasn't here, we wouldn't be like in this room today. So we will take the ambitious task to move on in the future. And now remember, everyone, please keep popping those questions into the Q&A box and we will get them very soon. But first, a massive thank you once again to Kerry for coming to reignite that fire and share that with everyone. And hopefully all your viewers out there can feel just as inspired as we did. So where can people find out more about what's going on in your work? And do you have any projects coming up?
Sorry, I didn't know I was still on. Sorry. You're right. The lockdown did some really good things, and a bunch of us, me and a guy called Ramsey and a whole steering group, set up this thing called Mino Arts UK, which was a collective for Middle East, North African and surrounding area creatives, just to be seen, just to be connected. And we set up a website, and we've set up talks and seminars, and we've commissioned some films. And we were only able to do that because we were all locked down in a lockdown and had no excuses not to be able to kind of do the tasks. So that's really positive. So check out minoarts.uk and of course my website, Kerry Michael, and find me on Twitter, one Kerry Michael, where you'll find out what I'm doing about everything there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our viewers will find you. Thank you. That's great. We hope that you are ready for the live audience Q&A. So I'll pass over for that to Megan.
Thank you, Niels. We're going to start the Q&A now. So if you're on our YouTube link, keep dropping questions into the chat there. I see a few of them have come through, so we're excited to answer them. Thank you, Kerry, for that wonderful talk, and thank you for answering some questions today. Today, representing the 9 of us collectively are Phoebe, Liam, Niels, Lucy, Erin, and myself. So everyone come and join me now. Turn your cameras on. All right. So the way that this is going to work is really simple. We will try to get through as many questions as possible. Please, if you do have any specific questions for us, for a specific person, you just have to stick our names next to the question, and I'll make sure that that question gets to the person that it is going to. All right. Let's start with This is a great question from Daniel. Hello, I was wondering how and why you guys became producers. I think, let's see, Liam, why don't you start this, because I know you have a good answer.
It's such a broad question, to be fair. I think a lot of people fall into the role of being a producer without realising that they fell into it. As you find through the industry, people don't tend to do the job that they started with. And most of us here started as either directors or writers or actors and have fell into this sort of role. And because also a producer is such a vast thing. So like in between the 9 of us, we've got self-producing artists, we've got commercial producers, subsidised producers. For me, personally, the reason that I done it was because I wanted to be able to put other people's work on stage and be able to have an audience get inspired by theatre in the way that I had been inspired in the past. And I think it's a really personal question. Anybody you ask will have a different one. And everybody subconsciously will think that their one is wrong. And that's why doing something like this and finding your tribe and finding the producers around you to go, I've got a totally different way I've done this, I've got a totally different way I've got into this, is brilliant. And people go through commercial degree training, people go through diploma training, some people just job it out and end up being one. So it is such a broad question, but for me, it definitely was creating other people's work on stage to inspire.
Lovely. Thank you. All right, this next question is from Thomas. Thomas asks, as an emerging producer, the biggest gray area for me is fees. Do you folks have any plans to talk about things such as buyouts, day rates, etc. for a company, and which union rates to use and when? So I think chatting about some fees and money stuff, but also chatting about some of those plans for the future and what we hope to offer people. Lucy, do you want to grab that one?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a really grey area, and it is obviously funding is tight at the moment. I think at the moment like 20% of Arts Council applications are successful. It might even be less than that. So obviously it is really difficult. Phoebe and I have been building the resource page on the website this week with Megan's help. We started out with environmental sustainability, and are going to build in some anti-racism resources, as well as accessible rehearsal room techniques that you can implement. And definitely we will be looking at money too. I personally believe the reason everything about money is so confusing is because we don't talk about it enough. Becoming self-employed, if that's the way you're going, can be really difficult. And it's really hard to know which fees to look at. And there also isn't a producing union. So it's very hard to know as a producer how much to pay yourself. All of us have been using the ITC rates, sharing them with each other. We all get along quite well, so we do have that sort of conversation of money between us. And I think that's really our ethos, is we want to open up those conversations and create a community that is friendly and welcoming, where you can ask questions that you might feel uncomfortable asking in another situation. But yes, our plan is for the resources to be developed for the needs of the community. So we'll happily take suggestions on what people would like, and also would welcome anybody else who would like to be part of it, to write resources and to become part of that conversation, to write blog posts. We're very much the 9 people that are starting this, but we don't want this to be about us. We want this to be about everyone. And we're just here to upload the documents to the website so that everyone can see them and enjoy them.
Exactly. Thank you, Lucy. And yeah, I don't know if you saw in the chat, Lizzie's mentioned that the website is now live. You may have to exit out of your tab or browser and then re-upload it, but the website's live, and there are a few places on there to get in touch with us, to share what you would like to talk about, what you need help with, what we can research for you, what kind of coffee mornings you want. So have a little explore of that page, or you can also email thefifthproducer@gmail.com. All right, the next question, let's see. I like this one. This is, do you plan to work together internationally? I'm gonna send it through. All right, there we go. Niels, do you want to answer that question?
Sure, definitely. Well, I'm the only one currently based in the Netherlands. Megan, you are currently based in France, moving to the UK, and that leaves me being the only one not in the UK. So yeah, no, to be honest, we really would like to work together internationally. And I think that Chris Grady's mindset in terms of how international collaborations can set up. I thought it was way much more difficult than it actually is. And I'm currently working with a few people in the UK, and I aim to work in the UK as well as in the Netherlands. And Phoebe was a real inspiration for me, like working in the UK, but having these huge ambitions in Southeast Asia. And I think that the world is our platform to share our stories, and that you shouldn't limit yourself to one country. So yeah, I think it's just a very interesting add-on to all of our work. So yeah, we are definitely going to work internationally. Yeah.
Absolutely, and hopefully connect anyone who comes to the Fifth Producer with other people who hope to work internationally. This is the wonderful power of Zoom and the internet these days. It's so easy to connect with people. Sometimes you just need the right connection. All right, the next question is, what's the biggest lesson you learned from the diploma course? So, as we mentioned, we all met on Chris Grady's creative producing diploma course. What is the biggest thing we learned? This has all kind of come out of this course. So actually, Erin, do you want to take that question?
Sure. I had a very funny answer, but I probably should take this a bit more seriously. In all honesty, the biggest thing I personally learned was just to go for it, and always know there's going to be someone behind you just rallying you. And I think the reason we made the Fifth Producer was because the 9 of us have rallied each other through this whole thing and want to continue forever, you know, as long as we're making art, and even further than that, because that's what we needed. We didn't, you know, it's something you don't think you need. But that's the main thing I've learned, is just, and be supportive of other people's art. Don't just, I think it's a conversation me and Lucy had at one point about people being active online, and it's not about always be on your phone, always like things. It's actually be engaged with them. And if you see a post about your friends, like, show that you can't go to, if you put it up on your story, there might be 5 or 10 people that don't know about it, that aren't friends with that friend. And it's about creating that net and just creating that connection. And it's actually easier to do than you think it is. Yes, we had the amazing diploma to do that together, but also from this, I've realised there's about 7 people in this whole cohort that know someone that I know, which I wouldn't even thought of before, because we're all from different areas. So yeah, it's just creating connection is easier than you think it is, I think, is my full stop. No, stop there.
And if I can tip into that real quick, it's also about building the skill set that you get as a producer. So first you build that layer with all these sessions with Chris, and you go through the whole producing process, and then you can so easily start making these connections. So it's really broadening your skill set and specifying it as well. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. We have a question here. Any advice for building a community of stakeholders, potential constituents, or audiences to support new endeavors? That's a pretty big question, and asking us for advice is flattering at the moment. I think I'll just start off by saying one of the reasons we created the Fifth Producer coming out of the diploma course was to continue to learn and to push ourselves to research and discover more, connect more, inform and activate. Like we mentioned earlier, it's a way for us to keep holding ourselves accountable and keep growing. So it's another thing that I'm sure we will build some more resources on. I think this would be like a really great coffee morning talk. Does anyone else want to add on to that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, again, this is perhaps talking from my own experience, but I've always found the ways to build community is kind of firstly going onto the existing community hubs, whether that's maybe a school or a village hall, or I was going to say now in the age of COVID, a Facebook group. So I was going to say it's so inspiring to see groups for perhaps people with niche medical conditions that they weren't able to talk about before, particular interests, all sorts of things are on Facebook now. So I think finding those groups now is a great place to start. And then I think any exercise in building a community really just comes from kind of listening to the needs and engaging them from there. So if it's a coffee morning people want, go and do that. If that's the furthest thing that they want, find a new path and work it out with them. So I think it's finding the existing networks and then listening to perhaps connect with other networks further and move on from there.
Yeah, Liam.
And I think Phoebe just kind of touched on it there as well. One thing that we've been taught over the past course of this whole pandemic that we've all lived through is that there isn't a barrier to connecting with these communities and these people. That if you want to make those connections and you want to start building that platform, there is a way. And it might be a case of you might just have to drop someone a message and say, I'm looking at this, I'm not too sure what to do, any advice, or almost have a third party to sort of get you to that next place. But there is always a way, and I think that's something that this has really taught us strongly.
Oh, and sorry, last practical tip, just to save you the work of saying, go and find these communities. There are loads of great resources from people like the British Council or Rural Touring Networks who are already kind of doing some of that legwork. So it's also looking for directories of communities to then, go forward.
That's great. Thank you. All right, we're going to do one more question here. Do you have any projects you are starting now, and now that you have finished the course? I think I'll say this is kind of a major project of all of ours that is really going to be quite a commitment for us going forward. And if anyone wants to talk a little bit about our plan of action for the fifth producer, maybe Lucy, if you wanted to chat a little bit about that.
Yeah, so very much we've come up with our 5 values, which are facilitate, access, transparency, authenticity, and sustainable practice. I remembered all 5, very proud of myself. And really, when we were putting those together, we made a commitment to ourselves and to each other to uphold those in our practice. So, for example, I'm currently developing a project that requires a lot of travel, which I know is going to have an environmental impact. So I'm looking at other ways I can offset that in our practice and how maybe the resources we use will be less harmful for the environment. So it's all about those little things, taking them forward. Our plan of action is very much to get lots of resources up. We have 2, the anti-racism and the accessible ones that are coming hopefully in the next few weeks. We also intend to do sort of a second round of the survey, reaching out to those networks that we didn't reach this time, and really thinking more methodically about how to reach people, to diversify the producers that we're reaching, to make sure that our conversations are as far-reaching and as fruitful as possible. What else are we doing?
Oh, want me to chip in there, Lucy?
Yeah, go on.
Or something building on what Kerry said earlier about knowing when to step up and step away and not take up space. Ultimately, the plan for the fifth producer is by reaching out and building a community. We ultimately want to sort of revert to a sort of caretaker or stewardship system where ultimately the 9 of us are really starting to step away from it, and perhaps only 2 of the 9 of us are sort of working on maintaining the website, delivering resources. So we're ultimately hoping to bring perhaps some of the people watching this live stream right now into the board and essentially helping take the community further. So that's something that, that's an action which we'd like to do in the future, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, we're going to wrap it up today. Thank you for your questions. If you had any questions that didn't get answered or that you wanted to ask, again, head over to the website, thefifthproducer.com. There's lots of chances to reach out to us on the website. You can also email thefifthproducer@gmail.com. The website, again, should be live now. Take a look. I will also point out that at the very bottom of the website, there is a donate button. We plan to, as the fifth producer, hopefully get some funds, get some donations in so that we can start a scholarship fund for producers who need it, producers who are not us in this room, but others who need some affordable training and cannot access it at this time. But thank you all so much again. We hope that you'll reach out. We hope that you'll follow us on our social medias. I'm going to hand it over to Liam to bring us home.
Well, that is it. The change has well and truly started, and we hope you're all going to join us together. So really, all that is left for us to say is a massive thank you for coming along. We hope you feel as excited and as empowered about the future as we do, and it's time for you all to join us on this journey.
Lucy, you're on.
We go. Yeah, I just didn't mute myself properly, did I? Before we go, there's 3 very important people we need to recognise: Joanna, Lizzie and Siva, who are with us. They are also an integral part of the Fifth Producer. We've been graduating from our course this week and they've handled the rest of the events, but they really can't wait to meet you all at coffee mornings. And it is really a collaboration between the 9 of us. So although the 6 of us have spoken, it's very much a group effort. And thank you to everyone who did the survey as well, because you are an integral part of putting today together, whether or not you realised it when you were filling in the survey at the time.
A big thank you also to everyone who organised this afternoon again, and to the inspirational Kerry Michael for giving that truly motivational speech. And hopefully you feel as inspired as we did the first time that we spoke to Kerry.
And last but certainly not least, we must thank Chris Grady for bringing us all together through his diploma. We would never have met him or met Kerry without that diploma. And also a massive thanks to Jack of Vert Creative, who has done all of our tech today, making sure that everything ran smoothly. We are so, so grateful for all your support, Jack. And as well to Stephen, our BSL-interpreter, who has been with us this afternoon.
And remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or LinkedIn, or find us online on our brand new website, www.thefifthproducer.com. And there you will find all the information about our Slack channels, our coffee mornings, and everything that we spoke about today. Together, guys, we will be able to produce a better future. So thank you and good night.